So you're thinking about moving to Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys, and more specifically, Lexington. Well, in this video, Leslie and I are going to talk to you about the pros
and the cons
of living in Lexington. And if you hang around to the end of the video, Leslie's going to share
something that's very near and dear to my heart growing up.
And you definitely don't want to miss out on that. And we're going to get started right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Virginia, from its beautiful mountains to its valleys, then click on that subscribe button and touch that bell so you can be the first to be notified about all the information there is to know about Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys and the towns therein. Hi, my name's Stephen Gleason.
And I'm Leslie Gleason.
And we get phone calls and emails every day from folks just like you who are looking to make a move to Virginia, or people who already live in Virginia and are looking to make a move across town or sell their house. And we absolutely love to get those calls, and we absolutely love to help.
We do.
So whether it's you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, just pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. That information is all in the description down below. And we'll be happy to help you make your move, wherever that is, in Virginia as smooth as possible. So as I mentioned today, Leslie and I are going to talk about the pros and the cons of living in Lexington, Virginia. And I think one of the neatest things, I think to start out overall, Lexington is a really neat little town.
Such a quaint historical town.
Yeah.
Love it.
It really is. It's only a town of about 7,300 people, but with 7,300 people, there's a lot going on in that town. And one of the good things about it, one of the pros, is its location. Although it's a small town and you have to drive into some other places maybe to get some larger shopping, we'll talk about that in a second, right. It does sit right at the intersection of Interstate 64 and Interstate 81, which means you can be on the interstate within 5 minutes and up and down the interstate to wherever you gotta go. If you're looking to take a vacation, you're going to look at about 3.5, 4 hours down to Virginia Beach. And if you're looking to go to Washington, D.C., you're looking at about 2.5 hours to get there as well. And so, like I say, you're within a lot of the different places that you'd want to go if you were on the East Coast. That's the pros about it, but I think the location is also a con, and I've alluded to that a little bit already. The fact that it does sit kind of in the middle between some different areas like Stanton and Waynesboro. You're going to have to go about 35, 40 minutes north. Or if you're going to go to Roanoke, you're going to go about 45, 50 minutes south to get there to a larger town where there's more things. And also to an airport. Now, you've got the Charlottesville-Albemarle Airport about 1 hour and 15 minutes away over just north of Charlottesville. And then you have the Roanoke, the Blacksburg regional airport, and that airport is about 45, 50 minutes away. Now, both of those airports are serviced by American, Delta, and United. So well-known brands, and of course they fly from commuter flights into their hubs, and then if you're going to a different place, they go out from there. And so like I say, you still have access to the air flight, but you don't have access to like Southwest or Spirit, those types of airlines.
Budget airlines.
Yeah, if you're going to go there, you're going to have to go to Richmond, which is going to be, because the airport's on the east side of Richmond, it's going to be about 2 hours and 15 minutes away from Lexington. And of course, Northern Virginia is about 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 45 minutes, depending on what airport you're going to up there. So. But like I said, overall, it sits in a great place. It's at the lower end of the Shenandoah Valley. And the mountains start to come down and squeeze in on you a little bit. And there's some absolutely beautiful views and some great stuff that goes with living in the Lexington area.
Okay, Stephen, so let's talk about something that's very near and dear to your heart, and that's shopping. He loves to shop.
Yeah, well, shopping for golf.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the pros about downtown Lexington, and that is some of the very unique stores that you get to go into. They're locally owned. The people who are making their own goods that are selling down there. I mean, things like I gotta bring this in. Okay, so like the candles, the lotions.
You light up.
I know. Oh my goodness. The lotion. It smells good. But you know, that's in Lizzie's downtown, and she has a bunch of different things, from clothing to lotions and candles and all kinds of things in her store. But I love going in there, and that's one of my favorite little places to go into in downtown Lexington. So if you're looking for a larger box type store in Lexington, you're not going to find a whole bunch. You're going to find them in the outer areas of Waynesboro and Stanton if you want to go there. But the pro of Lexington is that they do have a Walmart. They do have Lowe's. They have Ollie's, which
a bargain
is,
store.
So maybe some people don't know what Ollie's is. It's kind of like they take some things from warehouses and they put it in their store and sell it at a discount rate. So it is Ollie's bargain store. Yep. So it's kind of a cool store. If you've got time to walk through and find some bargains in there.
And of course, there's also like a Harbor Freight there in town as well, things like that. There's grocery stores too. I mean, there's Food Lion, Kroger, in addition to the Walmart, that type of thing as well. But one of the things that I wanted to bring up too about the downtown, kind of a cool place that I really like, is a place called Just Games. And that's what it is Just Games. So kind of brings out the kid in you,
Absolutely.
And, they have, strategy games and games like Dungeons and Dragons and board games. And then they have like things for like disc golf and things like that. So, but one of the cool things they do is during the summertime, they have summer camps for kids to come and to play games, and it teaches them strategy while playing games. Yeah, well, maybe we'll see. But like I say, it's just kind of a really neat place in a small downtown area, and just something that's really neat and unique to that particular town, the particular town of Lexington, and just kind of a neat thing. And but like I say, Lexington, its downtown has so much to offer. Like Leslie says, there's not a whole lot of other stores like a Kohl's or a Target. You have to drive.
But you don't go to Lexington for those things.
No, you don't. You go kind of a slower pace of life, right. and for a a real small that downtown. It's just cool being down there.
It has a cool coffee shop in.
No,
just saying.
Imagine that. And so, but like I say, and then of course there's restaurants downtown too that are fantastic, and the Napa Thai restaurant.
Ooh.
It is
good.
Yeah, it's Thai food, and Leslie and I went there the other night, and I mean it was fantastic. And so just there's so much stuff in town there that you can do. But if you're driving to if you got to get to Kohl's or Target, that type of thing, you got to go about 35-40 minutes north. Right. To Stuarts Draft or to Waynesboro or Stanton, or about 45-50 minutes south to Roanoke.
Load up the car and you make a day of it.
Make a day of it. Exactly right. So that being said, one of the other pros about Lexington, and really all of Rockbridge County, which Lexington is the county seat of, is the recreation that's there. There's recreation throughout the year, but one of the biggest things, you're going to find hiking trails all over the place.
So many.
And some of them are more difficult than others. Some of them you're going to climb to the top of a mountain and to be there. Others just a nice leisurely walk along the river, the Murray River there. Yeah, waterfalls up in the mountains as well, and just really cool. Of course, if you're a biking enthusiast, there's biking trails all throughout Rockbridge County, and there's also mountain biking trails as well. And so that's a really neat thing that is available there in Rockbridge County. Camping, there's at least 9 different campgrounds in Rockbridge County. So if you're looking to camp, and then when you camp, and make sure you got your fishing license so you can go out and get some trout, and you can fly fish and do all sorts of things there. So as far as outdoor activities, it's just absolutely amazing. One of the neat things, of course, you've got the Appalachian Trail. And the Appalachian Trail, to get to the top of the Blue Ridge Mountain, there's about 30 minutes away. And the Appalachian Trail is there for hiking as well. And of course, you can always take a great drive along the Blue Ridge Parkway, and you're going to see some beautiful views. And that runs all the way down into North Carolina. And just a really neat thing. Of course, it ties in Skyline Drive going north up to Front Royal, Virginia as well.
Okay. So one of the questions that we get asked quite frequently is regarding internet. And is it available in these small towns? Well, this is a pro of Lexington. There are some companies that are available with some decent internet speeds in downtown Lexington. But if you're going to be moving toward the mountainous areas of Lexington, you may not have all of those things available to you. Just, make sure you do your research and figure out which one's going to be working the best for you.
Yeah, Xfinity, branch of Comcast, is the most common in the Lexington area, and then Bark is also putting some fiber optic lines in, and so who knows where that'll go. Of course, I mean, 20 years ago, we were all using dial-up, so I'm sure. I won't make the noise, but anyway, like I say, things are definitely, if you're moving into town or even around town, you're going to have plenty of internet speed. Just maybe get a little more sketchy as you get into some of the higher elevations and further away from town, but there's still options that are available. One of the other things that I would say is definitely pro about living in Lexington is its schools. According to niche.com, you can see here that there's Lexington City Public Schools. There's another town, it's an independent city in Lexington, just about 10 miles away, Buena Vista, and not even 10 miles away, but then you have Rockridge County Schools as well. And so for the sake of time, and we're going to look here at Lexington Public Schools and Rockridge County Schools because all the kids go into Rockridge High School. As you can see, Lexington City Public Schools, they get a very good rating. They get an A- rating according to niche.com. And while Rockridge County Schools are rated at a B-, there's one thing that if you look at it, if you look at the stats, one thing that all of these school districts have in common is that they have good teachers and that the parents really like the teachers at the schools. So let's just go ahead and we'll start with some elementary schools. Obviously there's more schools in Rockridge County, but you can see a couple that are right here in or near downtown Lexington. You've got a couple elementary schools here, and you can see the different ratings that they get, and you can see on both of those if there's one of the things that they like is the fact that they really like the teachers that are in those schools. Look at the middle schools. I mean, you got Downing Middle School, and Downing is ranked as the 19th best middle school in the entire state of Virginia.
That's a crazy.
And it is really good, and so you got that as middle school and some great opportunities for good education there. Of course, you go to the high school, Rockridge County High School. It's definitely in the top third of all of the schools in Virginia. And so you're getting a solid education there as well. But like I said, I really think that because of that, and because it is a smaller town, you also get that small town feel, and you have more, what would you say, Leslie, more involvement, I guess. With the parents and the students.
Parents are much more involved with the lives of their kids, with the lives of their teachers. They meet them at Walmart. They see them and they know each other. So that's something that's unique about it.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's one of the really neat things about it. Yeah, definitely. One of the things about Lexington, pretty much like anywhere in the Shenandoah Valley, even at the lower end of the Shenandoah Valley here, is its history. It's definitely a pro. You just got so many historical things around you, from the two colleges that are in the town, Washington and Lee and Virginia Military Institute, and you can learn more about those, especially in the blog video that I talk about a little bit more about Washington and Lee and VMI, and I visit the campuses as well. But a couple of really neat colleges there. And of course, like for VMI, for example, George Patton, the general, went to VMI before attending the United States Military Academy. And then the other person that you may know is George C. Marshall, the Marshall Plan under Presidents Roosevelt and Truman. And some really notable people have come out of the universities there in that area. So in addition to the two colleges in town, which are full of history, Lexington itself is full of history. You just walk up and down the streets of town, you're going to see plaques and buildings, and it's just filled with history. And a couple places, one right near town and one about 20 minutes north of town, that are kind of Leslie's favorites. So I'll let her tell you about those.
So let's talk about the McCormick Farm. Cyrus McCormick was the inventor of the grain reaper, and it looks a whole lot different these days. But his farm is located, like Stephen said, about 20 minutes north of Lexington. And if you go visit his farm, 8 out of 9 of those buildings are original buildings there, which is super cool. So another very cool historical place, it's right outside Lexington, is it is the oldest grist mill in the Shenandoah Valley, and that's called Wade's Mill. And Wade's Mill, you can go in there and you can see them doing the grain. It's not run by water anymore, it is run by electric, but I love the grain that they mill there. They send it over to my favorite bakery that bakes my favorite bread. So I like their mill.
Yeah, it is good bread too. I gotta admit, it really is. So But you know, like I said, it's just filled with history.
It
It
is.
really is, and what a cool place to be. And so, as far as the cost of living goes, that's another pro about living in Lexington. You can see that overall, it's almost 10% cheaper to live in Lexington than it is in the United States as an average, and the housing is quite a bit less in the Lexington area. Now, there's houses that are, of course, less than that, you know, $300,000 mark, but there's certainly a lot of houses that are over. And then one of the things that, you know, we found that we help a lot of folks out with is they're looking for land, and there's
Right.
land and houses that they can get outside of Lexington. So if you're looking for acreage, it's a good area to get land and houses with acreage as well. But as you can see, the cost of living is definitely a pro of living in the Lexington area. And so another thing about the cost of living, I've already talked about the housing a little bit, but here's some information. And that is, you can see that the average house, just a little snapshot from December from Realtor.com, but about $335,000 is what the average house sold for, you know, during the month of December. And but you know, the average square foot of house right now is about $179 a square foot. And there, of course, are houses that are more than that, you know, and a lot of times we get calls from folks that are looking for land with a house and maybe horses or whatever the case may be. And so Lexington's one of those good places, and Rockbridge County is a good place for you to find land like that oftentimes. In comparison, for example, just a couple of cities here, Wilmington, Delaware, and Frederick, Maryland. And if you look at Wilmington, I mean, and Frederick, both of them have a lower cost of living, but look at the difference in the housing. I mean, Wilmington is about 27% and about 66% difference if you were to move from Frederick, Maryland. Now, I get it's a suburb of DC, but it's still quite a ways out of DC. But still, like I say, it's just a big difference in living in those urban areas, especially in the north and east. And we get phone calls from folks in California as well, or you know, any of those big cities like that. You're going to find a big difference in the price of housing, more affordable, definitely. And so that's definitely an option, is the pro, excuse me, is the cost of living in Lexington. And I would say probably the final pro that I have is the climate. Now, it's kind of interesting. Even though Lexington sits at the southern end of the Shenandoah Valley, it's actually a little warmer, just not much, so really about average, but about a little warmer, according to bestplaces.net, than the rest of the state. And now in the summertime, as you can see here, that means you're going to have about 30 days a year where the temperature's over 90 degrees. And it's interesting, you move up the road about 40 minutes and another of an hour up into Harrisonburg, and that time gets almost cut in half.
Right.
And so some of that has to do with the elevation that Lexington is at. It sits at just around about 1,000 feet or a little less, depending on which hill you're on, in that area. And Harrisonburg is, you know, several hundred feet higher. So it's kind of interesting. The good thing is that in the winter, it's a little bit warmer.
Less.
Yeah, only about 12 inches of snow a year is what you get. And as far as the wintertime goes, that warmness in the summertime kind of carries over to the winter, and it's not as frigid as the north is in the wintertime. Matter of fact, they only get about 12 inches of snow a year. And there's only about 11 days out of the entire year where you have more than an inch of snow on the ground. And so that's...
So if you really don't like snow,
you
don't like the elevation in the mountains,
and you still like being in the mountains, it's a good place to go. Exactly. So, but just I think the climate really is pro, according to bestplaces.net. It gets an 8.4 summertime rating out of 10 and a 6 in the wintertime. And so not bad at all if you're looking for a little bit more temperate climate.
So at the beginning of the video, we shared with you something that I wanted to talk to you about that was dear to my heart. So growing up, my father loved horses, and he had a horse, but he would never let me ride it because it was too big for me. So he eventually got me a pony. And Lexington has the Virginia Horse Center, and that's just something that is, I love living here. I love being able to see all the horses and all the equestrian riders and the dressage and things like that. And if you go into the Virginia Horse Center, good grief, they have 600 acres there. Stephan talked about many of these things in his blog video, but it is something that's just dear to my heart, is the amount of equestrian availability that you have here in the area. So if you are someone who loves horses, or someone who's looking for land to put your horses on, and that is close to some arenas that you can definitely enter into contests and things like that, you're going to love living in Lexington simply because of the Virginia Horse Center.
And what I think is pretty cool is whenever the person thinks about horses, they always think about thoroughbreds in Lexington, Kentucky, but little Lexington, Virginia has the jewel of Virginia when it comes to horses.
It is.
It really is. The Virginia Horse Center is a really neat place. So like I say, hopefully this video has helped you out a little bit, knowing about what some of the good things are about Lexington and maybe some of the cons as well, some of the things that aren't the greatest things about Lexington. But overall, Lexington is a quaint, really neat little town to live in. And like I say, whether it's Lexington or Harrisonburg or Stanton or Waynesboro or Charlottesville or Crozet or wherever, any of the towns out here in the Shenandoah Valley and the Blue Ridge, if you're interested in those, please pick up the phone and give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email. That information is all in the description. Matter of fact, there's even on our YouTube page, you can schedule a Zoom call with us. I'd love to meet you face to face and be able to talk with you. And like I say, a lot of folks move in, but we actually have a lot of folks too that are moving from one town to the other in the Shenandoah Valley, or from Charlottesville to the Valley, or from the Valley into Charlottesville. And it's great to help people, whether they're selling their house or buying a house. We just love to do that. It's just really neat for us. Leslie and I, we were school teachers for 18 years. And so we've taken a lot of in our school teaching days about teaching and learning, and we want to help other people learn so that they get the information that they need to make an informed decision. And so that's just something we do. We like
Whether
that.
it's locally, nationally, or internationally, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's what we want to do. We want to help people get into a place that they like to call home and that they'll be very satisfied with for years to come. So like I say, just give us a call. We'd be happy to help you out. But like I always say, until next time, we'll see you around town.